How's it going, Reef Keepers? It is time for the April update of my tank. Just my main display tank, what's been going on in it for the last month or so. And really, as you can see, everything's doing pretty well. But if you listen to yesterday's podcast episode that I released, I did have a problem there for a hot minute with the acros in my tank, which are just starting to show polyp re-extension because I did bottom out the nutrients in my tank. Essentially, the nutrients were ticking a little bit up to a point that I didn't like. And I was like, well, I'll crank up my reactor because I know that the phosphate reducing media is, getting a little bit, near the end of its life. And I cranked the reactor way too much and utterly bottomed out the nutrients in the tank and literally went from like 0.10 phosphate all the way down to like 0.01 phosphate. So not great. Acros don't like that in a 24-hour period. They're not fans. So I swung it back the other way, arguably a little bit too far the other direction. And now today, I have not tested it yet, but I am assuming that they're going to be happier today. And honestly, it seems like such a long time ago now, but I don't know how many of you noticed or caught that I did change the positioning of some of these SPS. So SPS Frags that I changed position on, if I can recall correctly, I moved one digitata down here just to see how it would do. I think I did move this one actually from the other side down to this end. I know that I put this bird's nest kind of dead center just to get a little bit of life in the upper center portion of the tank. This one is this Superman Millipora is basing out nicely. Let's see if I can get a shot of the basing. Yeah, you can see if you look real close down there, it is basing out. So by the way, a lot of those vermitid worms, I know they're ugly. A lot of them are actually dead and they're just existing in place. I've eradicated a lot of the living vermitids in the tank. But anyway, on that Superman Millie, it's starting to base out. I'm pretty darn happy with it. And it's happy in that spot. However, this one here, which I never learned the name of it, I did actually have the base recede pretty badly when it was here. And so I actually moved it down over here away from the main strength of the lights, and it seems to have stabilized it. It seems to be doing a little better. The base isn't growing back yet, but it's not getting worse. So I thought to myself, well, this is kind of like the highest rock point in the tank. Maybe it's right between two lights. I was like, maybe it's getting a little much, and I think it was. I think it was not so happy. And I also moved this digitata up in the tank, like toward the front, and kind of hung it on this little cliff, which I think actually looks pretty cool. And if you look at the top of the scape, I think now there's just a more balanced look to it, right? Like it just strikes me as a more balanced experience viewing the tank. And I'm actually starting to see pretty darn good growth. If you compare to last month's video, this piece right here, for instance, I mean, I am getting solid growth off of this piece of digi it's forest fire digi, I believe. And I just broke it clean off so that the only thing left was the base, because at the time I was worried about those Monopora eating nudibranchs. And I was like, I'm just going to break off this right at the base and put that frag in one of the nano tanks to hopefully save it, because I thought the nudies would wipe out all the Monty in the tank. Then I added the RAS, which took care of the nudibranchs. And now, this is the level of growth that I am seeing on what was previously, basically, look how high that is. Basically, previously, that was nothing but this tiny little bit of base that was left. So that's really encouraging. And it tells me that, with the exception, of course, of this, me bottoming out my nutrients like a numbskull, overall, the stability in the tank is such that SPS are growing. I've got one acro basing out. I think I've figured out the other one with regards to placement, light flow. And I've got Montipora, really growing. And Bird's Nest is growing, but Bird's Nest is going to grow. Bird's Nest will do what Bird's Nest will do. They grow. So I'm not too worried about those. Those are pretty simple. And then as for LPS Coral, I think I moved this one right here. I'm not sure if I had done that by the time I filmed my last tank update, but it's loving that spot there. I also moved this little guy back behind it. It's loving that spot. Foxface loves to chew on this guy right here, and it has not gotten worse. So I guess that's good. The little bit of Anacropora that was left after the Monopora eating nudibranchs kind of decimated it. Now that they're eradicated by the wrasse, that Melanaris wrasse that I added, that little bit is actually growing. Let me focus it. Yeah, this is actually growing. I can't get a great angle. Here you go. There's a better angle to show you the growth. But that's growing out and over this little blasto that's underneath of it. So I guess I need to start worrying about blasto placement eventually there. But yeah, then all the bigger stuff like the Duncans and everything, those are all still rock solid. And many of your favorite coral, the elegans, is doing what it does. Eating snails every couple weeks and, looking beautiful. So, no, guys, haven't had any like major, invert deaths outside of the elegans eating snails. The fish, as you can see the yellow tang there. The foxface is just looking glorious as always. There's the tamini. You rarely get to see a glimpse of that, so that's cool. And the Melanaris wrasse, there she is. She's totally settled in, and she's loving it. There was like no aggression toward that fish. I think I may have mentioned it in my last update, but the Melanaris wrasse, my kid named that wrasse Rassela, and it's like her favorite thing in this tank now. She is a humongous fan of Rassela, and so am I. I mean, I think just the movement of wrasse, like their swimming patterns and such, are just stunning. And Melanaris wrasse, like, I don't hear them talked about enough, I feel like, considering the beauty of them. They are truly stunning fish. I've so enjoyed watching that fish in the tank. And the other fish, she doesn't bother anybody, and the other fish seem totally fine with her. So yeah, things are going good. Things are, really going quite well. I do have an update that I'm saving. It's a gear update. I'm doing a major gear upgrade soon. The units that I purchased are shipped. I'm not going to say more about it. I kind of debated there for a second saying more about this major gear upgrade that I'm doing. But I'm going to save it because I'm going to do a lot of coverage on the gear that I'm going to put on this tank here in the next couple of weeks. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for it. So look forward to that. We will have some gear stuff to discuss coming up here shortly. But anyhow, guys, just figured I would piggyback right on the back of my last episode of We the Reefers. Would love it if you gave it a listen, and wanted to come at you with a tank update and just let you know how everything's doing. And everything is really doing quite well. I'm a happy reefer, so I hope you guys are too. Have a good one.